She's not dealing with all the natural hazards at the moment. Most of it's in the second lot. It's just where we've said no to something.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you look at recommendation 20, page 168 and 169, you will see that I have recommended that we don't include a definition of intolerable risk, but I do recognise in that paragraph that we define by proxy intolerable risk in terms of the mapping, where our boundaries are based on the 1 in 100, or 1 in 10,000 AFIR. So basically, we don't use the word in the policies, we don't define it in the policies, but we actually define it in terms of our mapping. So that's just, I've explained that there in the paragraph. It's reasonably complex because it comes from the GNS reports, but what I've really said is that in terms of the definitions, if we had a definition here, it might not be flexible enough for lots of different circumstances. And what intolerable is a judgment call on a particular case-by-case basis. So even though we have used it for our mapping, it's not appropriate to use it as a definition because then it won't be able to be used in different circumstances. That's the main no that I've included. The other no is on the issue of existing use rights, page 183 and 184. And there's two paragraphs that I think is probably, if I've got time quickly to read those two paragraphs that relate to this. 79, which basically says specify policy direction clarifying the extent to which rebuilding will be managed in hazard-prone areas is suggested.
Sorry. Help me out. I've just lost that.
Minister's comments.
Yeah, paragraph 79.
The minister's comments.
Sorry?
It's paragraph 79 of the Minister's comments.
So that's attachment 1.
So page 30 of your agenda.
Sorry. Yeah.
I was just going to read out the actual comments to give the context to why we've discussed existing use rights in that response.
Which paragraph?
So paragraph 79. And the other paragraph that this recommendation reflects is paragraph 93. So paragraph 93 says the Minister is asking us to further clarify clarity is needed in relation to existing use rights, application of recession plans, rules for dwellings and other related issues, and it ties back to paragraph 79 where it says specific policy direction clarifying the extent to which rebuilding will be managed in hazard-prone areas is suggested, and it says this is particularly urgent in relation to existing use rights. So our response to that is a mixture of two things. In one case, we've suggested that we include a new policy which includes an encouragement of rebuilding back better despite existing use rights, which is in page 182. Okay, so in 182 and in 183, in our response, we have included a new policy which suggests that we should encourage property owners to incorporate additional measures into the rebuild of earthquake-damaged buildings beyond existing use rights to avoid or mitigate natural hazards affecting their property. But the other side to that response is that we've basically identified that we can't affect existing use rights, so there's a limited response that the council can make in regard to these comments by the Minister.
This was the point that you made before, Brigitte, that the government or ministers had asked for something we couldn't give them, was that existing use rights are governed by the RMA, and we don't have the power in our district plan to overturn the provisions of the RMA.
That's correct.
So we've tended to keep quite silent in the district plan about existing use rights because the plan is focused on new development and future development.
Yeah.
And people do have the existing use rights. So by and large, we have been quite silent in the plan with respect to it. The recommendation we have here is that we perhaps add a policy to encourage property owners to incorporate things that will deal with the natural hazards, but not if they don't want to, basically.
Yep.
183.
We have 1 minute to go. Ali?
Wouldn't the building code and consent requirements cover some of the, I mean, if there's a hazard or safety issue, existing rights would still be covered surely by what's required under the building code and consents.
Yes, that's right. The building code, for example, the 1 in 50 flood levels, the building code makes sure that people raise their floors to that level, and regardless of existing use rights, if someone's rebuilding, completely rebuilding, they will have to comply with that.
Is that across the board you use flooding as an example, perhaps somewhere where there might be...
Use your microphone.
I think
Somewhere else where, if you use flooding as an example, I'm thinking of, and it's a bad example because there are a lot of rules around, falling, cliff collapse and things like that, but in environments like that, do you know whether what is required in the repair or rebuild addresses that through the building code?
so there'll be structural requirements,
Right.
for example, in the building code that require it to be withstand a particular earthquake standard.
So it's pretty
Yeah,
Yeah, but
academic.
the Building Act
Pretty
doesn't
academic.
have existing use rights. It is the RMA that has existing use rights.
Yes, but when you want to do something and you're doing it under your existing rights,
Yeah, but
you will...
that's to prevent you from applying for resource consent.
Oh, I see.
You can use your existing use rights to not allow for a resource consent.
Right, okay.
But the Building Act doesn't have existing use rights. It's a
No,
common
okay.
misconception.
Okay.
It took me a long time to get my head around it, put it that way.
So those are all of the areas where we have drafted a recommendation to the extent that no, we won't make a change, and the reasons are given in the report.
Yeah, and I think that just paying particular regard to the Order in Council, we have to have regard to constraints, particularly with regards to natural hazards, but we also have to look at the RMA, and so with that regard, in mind, I think that the officials' reasons that we have been given will satisfy the two ministers that we've paid particular regard to the Order in Council, but have not been able to address their particular request.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So when we come back after lunch, then we'll focus on where officers are suggesting that there be particular changes.
Yeah, and
in
could we
response to
prioritise
ministers.
those so that we're dealing with the most
Yes,
important
yes.
first?
Just two speakers there.
Yeah, because I will be leaving at 3 o'clock, and Vicky's really looking forward to the opportunity to chair the meeting, but I'd like to get it concluded by then if I possibly could.
What time would you like to come back after lunch?
We'll come back. Well, I've actually allowed you to go 5 minutes over time, so I was very. No, I haven't. I've allowed 3 minutes. So we'll be back. I'm going to start the meeting at 1:35. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.